Turn up the dial, it's 10:30. We back. Spin that back show, all the classics on track. From 79 to 99, we're crossing the gap. Album reviews, little known facts, hip hop intact. Saturday mornings, dive into the history. Samples and stories, old school mysteries. From early South static, Shiraz and TBD. Roll up out of bean. Turn it up, let the vinyl spin. 10:30 sharp, where the stories begin. From the golden era, treasures within. Spin that back show every Saturday when we break it down, the legends and the lore. Every beat, every rhyme, uncover more. From Grandmaster Flash to Nas's Roar, we're bridging the past, hip-hop's core.
Okay, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Once again, can I be heard? Can you hear me? All right.
Just fine.
So we back with that in that back show. Yes, sir. Indeed, indeed, indeed. And we got a full house today. We got me, Mr. L. Pooh, Mr. Nice Guy, and Mr. Student X. And today we're going to be talking about the legend himself, the man, the Don Mega, Ice Cube. Yes, indeed. When you talk about West Side, you talk about Ice Cube. Let me ask y'all a question. When was the first time you heard of Ice Cube? Were you, in other words, let me ask you this. You know, he had a group called CIA, Crew in Action. Did y'all know anything about that?
No, sir.
I mean, I knew about it after the fact, but I didn't know about it before NWA. I mean, we all, as all rappers, you know, there's a lot of people in the Focus Up Network that used to be rappers and crews and stuff like that. You've been part of all type of groups. Born Alive was part of the Alcoholics before they came out. So I'm just saying that we know that people come from something. You know what I'm saying? But I didn't know. But he was on that NWA, that first album, wasn't the CIA?
No, that's not the first album. The first album.
I mean, not the NWA. I'm talking about the NWA and the Posse. Didn't they have a CIA song?
No, it wasn't.
So they didn't?
No. CIA had their own record deal, I think, with CBS or something like that. Sony. Yeah. Either way.
Word. To answer the question for me, bro, it was fuck the police. You know what I mean? You know, when I heard that song, you know what I mean? Because I know nothing about, you know, anything. You know what I mean? I heard that song, and to me, you know, he came the most powerful and whatnot, you know, and then that's when I learned about, you know, who NWA was, and then, of course, who Ice Cube was, who immediately, that was my guy, you know what I'm saying, immediately, you know what I mean? It wasn't even no ifs and so much about it. I was like, oh, man, the flow, the style, that's my guy, you know, right there. That was my first time.
Whoa.
Dope man for me.
Yes, sir. There you go. Dope man was it for me, too.
Hey, the spin that back noise sounds like it's going like out of a different speaker, or it's not coming out into the full audio.
Okay.
I mean, you know.
Oh, now. There you go.
Yeah. Well, maybe I'm not hearing it properly, but yeah. So suffice it to say, yeah, Dope Man was my first exposure.
Yes, sir. Me too. Dope Man. And Dope Man was a dope song because it was talking about exactly what was going on when you walked outside. And what was that, 86, 87? It was exactly what was going on. And he just stood so much out. It was him and Eazy on that song. But actually, I heard Eazy first, of course. I heard, I think, 8 Ball.
Boys in the Hood.
Yeah, Boys in the Hood, both of those songs. I heard them both on the same tape. Yeah, and Eazy just sounded so different than everything else. It was like, who is this dude? Then you heard Dope Man. It's like, wait a minute, who is this dude? You know? But Ice Cube just stood out from NWA. He was like the crown jewel of NWA to me. Same thing that you just said, Mr. Student X.
Yeah, his voice, Dope Man. I mean, me and Brick Walls, rest in peace, used to always have these debates because he felt like Eazy had the doper sounding voice, and I was like, Ice Cube voice. I mean, it's, you know, the fire that he's spitting. You know what I'm saying? I mean, he was a made man. He wasn't a constructed man like kind of Eazy-E. You know, but I mean, he was just whatever. But I'm just saying that the fire, the voice, they both had dope voices. They did a good job of coaching up Eazy-E to do what he did because he did a solid job once they put it down. But Ice Cube, he was just on a whole nother level with it. I mean, that dude's energy, his fire, and just everything about it. It was amazing. And like you said, it related to the stuff that was going on. They were talking about strawberries and stuff like that. that was stuff that was extremely relatable. So, that's what it was. So, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Mr. Student X, I know you probably wasn't into that type of music and everything, but you didn't hear Dope Man and
I heard it. I heard it later. You know what I mean? Because like I told you guys before, is that when it came to my musical taste that I was bumping early on, I was more R&B. You know what I mean? And like old school. You know what I mean? That's what I was on. And so and rap. Even in the golden era, like we talk about here, I Spin That Back. I had exposure, but that wasn't like my mainstay, what I was bumping, at that time.
Right. Okay, so NWA and the Posse, they did have an album, which was NWA, Eazy-E, the Fila Fresh Crew. I guess that was about it. I think they had a few versions of this album that came out, because I'm looking at one right here that actually has A Bitch Is a Bitch, and A Bitch Is a Bitch wasn't even on this. A Bitch Is a Bitch was actually on a maxi single on Straight Outta Compton. But anyway, Fila Fresh Crew had the DOC in there too. That's where he came from. So I didn't know that. Let me put that.
Yeah.
So yeah. So then they dropped the second album. Well, actually, the first album, I guess you'll call it, which was Straight Outta Compton. And Straight Outta Compton was a monumental album. We're going to have to talk about that. In fact, let me bring that album up if I got that album up here.
Yes, sir.
Let me see. Yeah, here we go. Just look at the album cover. You got Eazy right there with the gun in his hand pointing down. You got Arabian Prince. You got Cube. You got Yella. You got Dre, you got Ren. Arabian Prince left the group very, very, very early. And Cube left for pretty much the same reason. But let's go through this album now. When this album first starts off, it starts off with Eazy saying, "You are now about to," is that Eazy or Dre? I think that's Eazy. "You're now about to witness the strength of street knowledge." Then the beat just strikes.
Iconic.
And then you got Cube, Straight Outta Compton. Crazy name Ice Cube. From the group called Niggas with Attitude. From the gang called Niggas with Attitude. Now I'm looking at that. I'm like, is that a real gang? And they put Compton on the map. Nobody knew about Compton.
Yeah, put Compton on the map, bro. Had everybody claiming they was from Compton, bro. Everybody, where you went, they was from Compton, bro.
Yo, not only that. You had so many groups that came out of Compton or artists and stuff. You had Tim Dog. You had Quick. You had.
He said Tim Dog. Tim Dog was different. He didn't come from that.
Tweety Bird. I meant Tweety Bird. Tweety Bird. Oh, I gotta spin that back because Tim Dog. Rest in peace to the man.
Rest in peace.
But yeah, then you had Compton's Most Wanted, and you had a whole lot of other little people claiming that they was from Compton and everything. But NWA put Compton on the map. And Cube wasn't even from Compton. Everybody else had a little piece of Compton, or somewhere around where like Mr. Nice Guy lives, somewhere outside of Compton. So they claim it's Compton.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm Compton adjacent. It says Compton on my driver's license, but I'm in West Rancho Dominguez.
If it wasn't for Eazy-E, he wouldn't be claiming Compton right now. So yes, sir. Ice Cube was from LA, actually. He was the only one that wasn't really from Compton. And Ice Cube, he stood out. Let's go with it, though. Yes, sir. You got something to say, bro?
I mean, we say NWA. Would you consider the DOC part of NWA, or I mean, even Ren. Where was Ren from? Was Ren from Compton?
Yeah, he definitely from Compton.
Definitely.
Him and Eazy, like, from the same neighborhood, more or less.
Gotcha. And Dre just sort of like, I guess, moved there, but yeah, still lived there or something like that.
Yeah, Dre, but he from Compton. I think he went to Centennial. So
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Older in life, he ended up there. So that's what it is. And he grew up there, just like you said. I mean, I've been here for like 14, 15 years. You get to understand the dynamics of how it functions. So it is what it is. But yeah, salute.
Yes, sir. So Straight Outta Compton, let's talk about that song. That song right there was just, just the beat and everything. It was just aggressive. When I first heard it, it was like, I'm just listening to it like, yo, this is just, wow. It was powerful to me.
Traditional, sort of like East Coast dynamics. You're talking about the break beat. It's got the James Brown, I should say the JBs to get involved, and all this other stuff. So yeah, it's just, man, it's just everything about it. It did it.
I ain't hear no James Brown in there. Let me see.
I said the JBs get involved or something like whatever. That's that part. That's that Yeah, you have to listen to it back. But it's from the JBs. Remember to get into it, get involved, whatever stuff like that. So welcome to the party, Afro Agnostic. So yeah, that sample is in there where you hear. I guess is it Bobby? Bobby is the one that's normally sort of like the speaker, so to speak.
Yeah. So get involved.
What's going on with you, Afro? Yeah. So but still, suffice it to say, I didn't even want to disrupt your plane of thought. I'm just saying that they were rocking all the samples. That was when you could freely sample. Well, put it this way: you couldn't freely. You thought you could, and you did. So that's when we had that era going on.
Yeah, they did a lot of sampling and everything, break beats and stuff like that. But they had Stan the guitar man playing a lot of the instruments too. So it was what it was.
Plug for me, this album directly in.
Yeah, I'm about to say that this album for me had a special place in my heart because, now keep in mind, I'm living in more not quite rural, but, on a borderline, a rural city, out here in Northern California. To put in perspective, I'm one of two brothers on the football team. I'm walking 5 miles literally, from my home, to get to school because this was a college prep school. And that's the one that my parents wanted me in and whatnot and everything. I'm going to call a nigga every single day. You know what I'm saying? Every single day. You know what I mean? People driving by in their car, nigga, you know what I mean? Every single day. And so now I come into high school, 1988, freshman in high school. And so literally with, NW playing in the background, my first move in high school was like, you know what, man? Hey, let's just put it down right now in this motherfucker so they know who the fuck is in this school. I went and picked the biggest cat in the school and banged them up. You know what I mean? First day freshman year in high school. You know what I mean? Bumping NWA. You know what I mean? Because like I said, I just came, you know what I mean, like every day. You know what I mean? It was relentless. You know what I mean? And so I for real had to fight. You know what I mean? Oftentimes by myself. And so I didn't have very many brothers to pull from. So I literally had to formulate some white boys. They were skinheads, but they called themselves Sharps, which stood for Skinheads Against Racist People. Instead of wearing a white shoelaces in their dots, they wore black shoelaces. You know what I mean? So I organized them, and then we would go, right on the different, racist cats, you know what I mean, out there from skinheads, whatever, you know what I mean, and just bang them up. You know what I mean? So, but like I said, NWA, that was my motivation. That gave me my energy. That gave me the juice. That's why I tapped into, you know what I'm saying, to reach these depths of being ready to go to battle. You know what I'm saying? So shout out to NWA, Ice Cube, you know what I mean, and Compton, bro. Let me just throw a shout out to.
Yes, sir. Let's go ahead and spin that back to that. Afro Agnostics. What you got to say, bro?
About Cube?
Yeah, we're talking about particularly Straight Outta Compton. We're on that album right now, but about Cube, Straight Outta Compton, whatever you want to say about it, bro.
Yeah, I can.
Before you do that, what was the first time that you heard Ice Cube?
Yes, sir.
The song.
I think it was on that NWA and Posse album.
It wasn't Dope Man?
Yeah.
There you go.
No, I'm just Dope Man. Yes, but now go ahead. So what were you about to say about Straight Outta Compton?
No, I remember we went to because we used to go boost the tapes. That's what we do. Me and my folks, during that time I was felonious. Now, not even I had graduated from misdemeanor. That was middle school. But it was high school. We felonious, and but yeah, we would boost them. And I remember he got that tape NWA, and we was kind of geeked up about it because we knew that album NWA and Posse. And, we were familiar with, in Detroit, we knew a lot about Dr. Dre when he was with the World Class Wrecking Crew and just different things. So we got it. I don't know who else got it, but, whoever had it, maybe like 5 of us, 2 of us got it. Everybody wanted to trade what they had for that. Once we heard it, we was like, whoa. And then the song Fuck the Police was just so cathartic because that was on the tip of our tongues all the time anyway. So to hear it validated on record, it was like, and Q was just something else, man. I mean, he stood out amongst all of the members in his raps. He was a standout person, the most quoted. That voice, it was just, man, yeah, everything.
His voice. And that's the thing about it. Rapping is about cadence and about, lyrics and all of that stuff, but voice plays into it. And you talk about people that have great voices. You talk about people like Chuck D. You talk about people like Ice Cube. They got great voices. It is another tier, another level to what they bring to the table. So, But go ahead, Elpo. You look like you're about to say something?
Yeah, I want to talk about Fuck the Police. Now, the first time I heard this song was I was in math class at Jeff, like 10th grade or something like that. And I had this little blood dude that I used to be cool with. And he had it in some headphones. And he let me listen to the song. And I was just laughing through the whole song. It was just so funny to me. It was real and everything, but just like the little skits and everything was funny, especially the very end when the policeman got sentenced and everything.
Yeah. I want justice.
That's DOC saying that, right?
Wow, I didn't know that.
And that yes, sir. But I heard all that, man. I was just laughing and laughing. And then I really listened to the song and I'm like, this is a real record. What really goes on. Now, I wasn't really running into the police at that time, but when I started running into the police, I felt everything that they said. And Q just started it off. Fuck the police coming straight from the underground. A young nigga got it bad because I'm brown. Man, come on, man. And then everything else, the whole record to me was just perfect. Judge Dre and everything. Oh, man, come on, man.
About that song, I mean, we weren't even necessarily driving around, and the police would literally we'd just be hanging out, and the police would pull up and be like, yeah, someone said that someone wearing a green, whatever, literally look at you just to make it up and stuff like that, whatever. So, I mean, that song resonated because the police, I mean, they were just sweating you for no reason. You know what I'm saying? And now that I get older, I mean, I get a little bit of a different perspective, but I mean, when you're like really wasn't doing no criminal activity, wasn't slanging, wasn't nothing, y'all were just hanging out, wasn't messing with nobody, and the police come effing with you, it made you feel some type of way about it. So it was that was an anthem right there.
They used to run up on us and say you fit the description. I used to be like,
exactly.
What's the description? Young and black?
Yeah.
And it's weird because, like, for me, my experience with the police wasn't, from an inner city perspective. I was, like I said, rural, and I absolutely got messed with the police. But just a completely different, type of situation. Just in general, yet the same. So, like I said, that's where I first, realized who Ice Cube was. Was that song right there? Just because of how hard the song resonated with me, on a regular. Because I'd just be walking home from school. And then, police stop, question me and whatnot, so it was constant. If someone got banged up, then I'm the first one they looked at, as being the person that was the saying? So, but yeah, that was the one for me for sure.
So I'll be remiss if I couldn't tell a quick story, but just my background, my house is very anti-police. My dad was, as my mom said, he was into Crookville. So, but he had the gangster fuck the police type, which is kind of reflected in that song, right? But I remember one time, man, I was on Jefferson, man. We was down with our folks, and we had a grocery buggy for somewhere. We pushing down the street. We got the big box radio in it. We walking around with 40 ounces. We just out on the night, and Fuck the Police was playing loud, blah blah. And then we got pulled over by the police, and like that guy got the car just as it said, "Fuck the police." Fuck the police. Now we teenagers, the police took out his gun and pointed at the radio. It's like, somebody cut that shit off, I'm gonna shoot it.
Damn.
Like that. But it was funny. We was laughing. Back then we didn't look at it in the lens that we look at it now. Why would you take out your gun? But we thought it was hilarious.
Yeah.
Yo, I don't know what to say about that right there.
Yeah.
Let me move on a little bit, because on this whole album, Cube didn't really have too many songs on here. The next one was Parental Discretion is Advised. He's on there, and he ripped that up too. Oh man, he ripped that up. And after that, that's really about it. Unless you want to talk about the Dope Man remix.
But didn't he come with
I Ain't the One?
I Ain't the One. That was good.
Oh, whoa, I Ain't the One.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I Ain't the One is on there too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Man.
Oh, it's number 10. I don't even have it on here. Oh,
It's growing, but you know, you gotta play it off cool.
That was dope. Yeah, that was a dope
oh yeah,
song.
yeah.
So, yeah.
Now that song right there was super dope. That was
Classic misogynoir, but you know, it was dope. It was dope.
hey, you can call it what you want.
Yeah, two things can be true.
You can
Two
say
things
this.
can be true.
Yeah, bitch is a bitch. I give you that on the bitch is a bitch, you know. And like I said, that was on the Straight Outta Compton maxi single.
Yeah.
On there. But when I first heard that, I heard somebody rolling down the street playing it. I'm like, what is that? Sound like Ice Cube. I got the single and I'm like, oh, this is Ice Cube. Yeah, Bitch is a Bitch. Real important song to me. Yeah. Because he wasn't talking about all women, but all women got a little bitch.
It's not cool. Not cool. That's like then all black people got some nigga in them.
Yeah.
You can make an argument that it's true, but I'm just saying that ain't okay.
It's not right there. It's not right there. You know what I mean?
But anyways, yeah. So
we know the whole story. You know, Cube had left NWA, went off on his own, and everybody was anticipating his album and everything. So when he dropped, it was like, what was that album called? America's Most Wanted, right?
Well, yeah, America's Most.
And look at all these people.
I don't want to backtrack or change, but I just have a quick question because since we're on the topic, y'all can. The Gangster, was that on the original album or was it on that maxi single? I kind of confused.
I think it was on the album because I think it was like yeah.
Seemed like it came on the re-release of the album.
They did drop some other stuff on there, like Bitch is a Bitch is one of those sort of like reissue bonuses that they put on after the fact. But yeah, Gangsta, that was like the single. That was one of the big, I mean, when you got Straight Outta Compton and Gangsta, I think was like maybe the second like big single from, you know.
Yeah, it was Fuck the Police, then Gangsta. Yeah, and the Gangsta, I don't know how we skipped over that song.
The whole time I'm looking at it. He said parental advice. I said maybe I missed him talking about it, but you gotta talk about Gangsta. That was a song right there, you know.
Yeah, I kind of get them all running into each other in a sense. Yeah, Gangsta was a big influence on me too because
I wanted to say that.
Yeah, I wanted to be a gangster because I wanted to do everything I heard Cube say he was doing on it. I didn't want to, but it was just like I can imagine myself doing it in these situations. Because like I said, they were really describing LA at that time in the late 80s. Mm-hmm. Everything that they were talking about was stuff that was really going on, almost like that. Because they was putting a little bit more on it than what it really would be, but still in all. And then Cube he can just make you actually picture his rhymes and everything.
Man. Yes.
So that's why he was so good with these movies and everything. That's why he's such a good actor to me. He was an actor on record.
Exactly. This is Studio Gangster. Definitely. But I'm saying
he said it, but I gotta spin that back one time because
I know y'all want an LA-ish, but I know and it is LA, no doubt. But like that Gangster, I ran away from home. I was like the third or fourth time I ran away, and that's when Gangster came out. He was playing it nonstop. Like you said, I envisioned the whole thing when he stepped in the house and all the punk ass niggas started rolling up. Man, that was me, man. I wanted to be like, man, I was folks. I saw it. You know, it was like a movie, you know, and that song was so gangster. It was so not give a fuck exactly where I was mentally. So when people say it's not influential, it doesn't influence the kids, you know, the kids are not palatable. No, they are.
Hey,
Who said that?
A lot of people made that argument. That's how I always argued about how with KRS-One and Public Enemy, you can't say that music didn't influence, because that's when people were wearing all these African medallions and consciousness and stuff. There was a whole movement started that was inspired by the music. You know what I'm saying? So it does have an influence. You know what I'm saying? As individuals, you'll make your own choices. It doesn't control you, but it definitely will influence you. And as far as your mood, music hell of a puts you in a mood. You know what I'm saying? So whatever mood that may be.
Yeah, it has a big influence on you. Because when you try to holler at a girl, she says something like, "I got a boyfriend," you be thinking to yourself, "Bitch, stop lying." Just like you said.
I thought you were gonna say, "I'm not trying to hear that, G." You went and took it to a whole nother place.
And where was I in high school? It was a group of white boys that they just idolized, rap music in particular, and they was calling them like
Wiggers.
I forgot what they was calling them. They was calling something, it was derogatory, all the white folks and whatnot. But they had organized a gang, and they called it. There's a street out here, they called it the Greenback Posse, and they were serious about it, bro. And you already know, like NWA in particular had that influence on them, no doubt about it,
Yeah, well, anyway, NWA, niggas with attitudes. But anyway, like I said, Cube went on his own, did America's Most Wanted. Now, what was so crazy about this album is he went to the East Coast and actually made this album with the Bomb Squad, PE's producers. Well, PE and the producers.
Shout out to the Bomb Squad, one of the greatest production teams that hip hop has ever experienced.
Spin that back. So let's go through this album here. Better Off Dead. That's the beginning. It's like a little skit where he's getting electrocuted, more or less. Then the nigga you love to hate. I heard this song was actually supposed to have been for King's Son. Yeah, there you go. That's it right there. It's supposed to have been for King's Son, but somehow Cube ended up with it. And that has the same beat that they had used for Gangsta Gangsta, I think. Is it Gangsta Gangsta? Yeah. They had used the same.
Oh, yeah. It is that same sample, that guitar sample.
Exactly.
Okay.
Crazy. A lot of people didn't catch that, so spin that back. But that was a great song, too. The nigga you love to hate. This dude said, "Fuck you, Ice Cube." It's like, what? It didn't make sense to me at first, but it was like, well, let's just roll with it. Great song, though. Then America's Most Wanted. What y'all think about that? The song, America's Most Wanted.
I mean, he was doing his kind of consciousness. He was doing the gangster stuff. He didn't quite get there yet like he did on the next album, but, this was definitely kind of sticking your toe in the water. But, this whole album is just dope. But yeah, America's Most.
What are you saying, nice guy? You saying what? You saying like, I'm lost, man. Explain this.
You talking about America's Most? He's talking about America KKK. This is an attempt at making some type of a conscious statement. When you're talking about America.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he did.
And I'm saying that he didn't go as far as he did on the second album, where he did a whole side of the album like that. But yeah. But as I said, he just dipped his toes in the water because there was a lot of ignorance on this album.
Okay.
Right. It was, but to me, just when after they did with NWA, and of course, Ice Cube became the poster child of "Fuck the Police." You know what I mean? So he definitely, was getting hate in NWA. You got to remember, man, Maxine Waters, black politician, was on them. You know what I mean, and others. You know what I mean? It was something that was fierce. And remember, back then there was no radio play. You know what I'm saying? For gangster rap. You know what I mean? There was it was underground.
Well,
at
they
the time,
did radio versions, but yeah, for the most part, they were getting all that buzz off the streets.
Fuck the Police didn't get no radio play. They did for others.
The Police didn't get no radio play.
Dope Man got radio play, but it was a radio. Yeah, they played that on K-Day. Like,
But I think it was too next to saying it wasn't prime time though.
Yeah. Oh yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, again, they did radio versions.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe now. Granted, we did have the advantage of K-Day, which was a hip hop, radio station. So not everybody had that.
Nah, we didn't have that up here. That's for sure.
You see, man, y'all be saying K-Day was dope, man. What's that? But everybody had their own K-Day. You know what I'm saying? Their own local radio station.
The way that people talk about it, the way people talk about it, they act like they weren't playing it like they were on K-Day. I mean, that's right here. I don't know.
K-Day was on the big level. It was big.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Because when you talk about like Magic, Mr. Magic and DJ Red Alert, they had their shows. Literally, you got rap on those shows, but you could get like literally someone be like, "Hey, you heard that new Rakim album? All I need to do is sit by that radio for about 4 or 5 hours. I'm getting it. I'm gonna record it and get it." So it's just, I mean, that's how it was.
Sitting there with a cassette player, huh?
Yeah. Oh, heck yeah. I'm telling you, I recorded K-Day like a mother effer. Not to mention the mix master shows on Saturday night or whatever, Friday, whatever it was. But yeah, so yeah, that was it. But yeah, back to Cube.
But hold on, you gotta understand this too. NWA started the trend of people actually making radio records.
Exactly.
On the radio, if the DJ wanted to play the record, if they'll edit it themselves if they really wanted to play it. But they actually went to the studio and actually made radio records for these actual, singles and everything. But anyway, so America's Most Wanted. Then the next song was What They Hitting For. I love that song. He in the dice game and everything, fucking around in the dice game. And I love that song right there. And it's like I say, this is what really happens in the dice game. You might have to get and start shooting.
And people, I was coughing. No, I caught those. No, you was coughing, man. Man, let's go to casino, bro. There's too many fights.
Dangerous.
Stay away from the dice games. That's how old boy from the Migos got caught up. I heard. I think it was the dice. So.
Rich dude getting caught up in some yeah, that's crazy.
And then you got the song called "You Can't Fade Me." Yo, now this was a crazy song. This is a female he was messing around with, and she got pregnant by somebody else.
This is Maury before Maury. What you saying?
You are not the father. Then Once Upon a Time in the Projects. Now that's telling you a story.
It's a great storytelling. Great storyteller. You know what I'm saying? There was this big debate before about who was a better storyteller, Cube versus Biggie type situation. And it was just I'm sorry, it's Cube. But anyway, so
I have to take out my political lens, my political hat now when I go back and analyze this stuff.
That's what you have to do.
There's a lot of violence towards women, a lot of perpetuation of stereotypes, but I'm looking at it from that perspective. When I was then, it was super dope. Nothing like it.
I'll tell you if you know somebody in the projects, listen to this song because it's going to tell you some truth. Anyway, to this day.
Yeah, it's some truth in it.
Okay, and then Turn Off the Radio, which is honestly one of the weakest songs on this album. But it had a great message on it.
Yeah, that's the whole thing about it.
This is his consciousness coming to light. And then you got Endangered Species with Chuck D. Now you know he's conscious on this one right here. Great song. Great production. Everything is good. And then once again, I think this is on the other side of the tape. You had to take it out and flip it over and push play.
I don't know about that, youngsters, but yeah.
Maybe it was the last one. Maybe it was the last song. Then Gangsta's Fairy Tale, I think, was probably the first song on the second side. Anyway.
Shout out to Dale the Funky Homo Sapien.
He wrote that song, actually. Absolutely. Yes, sir.
His cousin. Yep.
Yes, sir. And that's a good song. If y'all want to go listen to a good fairy tale, that's a good one right there. The ghetto fairy tale. And you got the little youngster on there, little kid cussing like
Lil Russ. Yeah, his name was Lil Russ.
Lil X.
Lil Russ. Lil Russ.
Anyway, what's after that?
Now, I gotta tie both of these things together. When you listen to Endangered Species, this was a very conscious song, and I remember listening to that, and then you're listening to I'm Out for One Thing and thinking, man, I used to think, I know Chuck thinks like, damn, this fool Flavor is just an ignorant mother effer. But this was an ignorant song. It's a dope song, but it's a pure ignorant. Pure ignorant.
it sounds like they freestyling on this song. To be honest with you, it's just a fun song for them.
It was Tears in a Bucket, motherfucker.
And that was funny though, that part when he said the baby came out and said, "Run DMC." I mean, it was like it was supposed to be like that. I like that. Yeah.
All right, man. Hey, like I said, two things can be true. I was particularly conscious at this time, so I was resistant. Again, I had literally divorced NWA. After that whole Sister D thing, I wasn't effing with NWA. You know what I'm saying? So, but still, I still acknowledged, dope music, accomplishing what it was. But
I want to say Ice Cube's line on that though was just the rhyme scheme was just perfect. It was like light skinned with a nice hairdo. I wanted to do or something, so I stepped to an unky, had more ass than a donkey. I mean, the lyrics were perfect. Yeah. Man.
All right. Then the next song was "Get Off My Your Bitch to Come In." And by Mel Brooks. And I'm pretty sure it happened.
Oh yeah, this lets you know not to just go walking up on him and reaching for the handshake, like Walk said that he went and I forgot who he said he went and grabbed, and luckily homeboy just was cool with it. But yeah, you gotta be careful with these dudes.
Yeah, I think it was CJ Mack. I think he said he did that.
Yeah.
West Coast, he was taking a chance right there. And then you had the drive-by. Now they actually doing the drive-by in this song, and they playing "Bust a Move."
Yeah.
That was a hot song at the time, though. Like a year before that was that song you heard on the radio all the time. So
they began it like it was a symposium or something too, like now the drive-by, something like that.
Exactly, yeah.
They were masters of the skits. Again, like I said, they made skits they made skits re-experienceable. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't just a one-off,
It was something you can actually really imagine. It was like I said, it was like cinema on CD. Because when he walked up, like, man, motherfuckers around the corner tripping, man, what they do, man, motherfuckers, they tripping, man, let's go handle this. And they jump in the car, you hear everything, the car starting up, it's moving. Yeah. They start, busting and everything and peel off. It was like, man, you can picture this because if you from LA, you experience this type of stuff. Maybe you was in the car, maybe you was outside, maybe you was in the window, but you seen something like this. But anyway.
DJ Pooh, I really like what you said. It was a cinema on wax. Yeah, man.
Yeah. That's what's up.
Yes, sir. I wish I was.
El Pooh. El Pooh, who was the DJ, but yeah.
And then you got Rolling with the Lynch Mob. I love this song. This
Lynch Mob.
Crazy. Now, this beat, I think it's a James Brown beat, or JB is one of them too. It was a whole lot of JBs and James Brown all over this album. But then you got Who's the Mac, which had a video, which had DJ Pooh in this video.
Yeah.
He probably actually directed this video. He probably did. Now I'm not sure, but he did a lot of directing and stuff too. Yeah, DJ Pooh is a fool. Then It's a Man's World with Yo-Yo.
Mm-hmm.
It's the first time I heard Yo-Yo actually too.
Yeah.
And this was supposed to have been on Yo-Yo's album, but for some reason they put it on this album.
The YBWC, what is it? What was it, her group?
Intelligent Black Women's Coalition, IBWC. Yeah. And you know what? She did a good job, but when they did the Bonnie and Clyde thing, that he didn't say bitch. He said, I have a down-ass girl on my team. You know what I'm saying? So she put her foot down about that. So, respects to Yo-Yo. And go check out Dope Femininity, one of the dopest songs ever.
Oh, yeah. Damn. Yeah.
Okay. Spin that back on. There's two more songs on here. The Bomb, which is actually cool. He got lyrics. I think that's it.
Yeah. That was it.
What do y'all think about that album musically, though? Just musically.
Sonically.
Great.
It sounded like another PE album. But in a sense, it was like half PE and kind of like half like what became the West Coast sound in a sense. A lot of Sir Jinx on there too.
Yeah, because Sir Jinx was very influenced by. Hey, I felt like at this point in time, I thought that Ice Cube was pound for pound the greatest rapper in the game.
Yes.
I felt that
Yes.
this album onto the next album that he was the greatest rapper pound for pound in the game. I mean, this album, it was like the production and all this stuff, everything. This is prime Ice Cube. You know what I'm saying? But yeah,
I was just telling my girl, you know, she's a little younger, man. She just doesn't know how big Q was like in '91. I went to the Jack the Rapper convention in Atlanta, and Q was there. Man, like everywhere Q went, people were just, I mean, they just wanted to see him, and they just wanted to see, man. It was like 30, 40 people just, and he was only with like 5 or 10 people, but it was 50 surrounding him. I was one of them. Every time the whole crowd stopped. He started moving, the whole crowd moved. At every floor he went, there was just Q, 91. Wasn't nobody messing with Q.
Yeah.
And then somebody learned it, and the next thing that we're about to talk about, someone learned that lesson.
No, it was a trip though, because when I first saw Ice Cube for the first time, his music was so large, I thought he was like 6 foot something. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? And then when I seen him, I was like, "That's Cube right there." I mean, he's still dope, but you know what I mean? I didn't know. You know what I mean? You know?
Hey, Student X, that's also your perspective being a big dude. See, we look on, you know, you see us on these little videos and stuff like that, but Student X is a grown ass man.
Well, you know, I'm talking about, like I said, like his presence, it was so powerful. You know what I mean? You know, to where you know. I had a vision of him, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
yes, I see what it looks like, but you know, yeah.
I understand.
And you couldn't tell me Ice Cube wasn't a gangster back in these days. I thought he was a full-fledged gang member.
He wasn't, but yeah, you can tell you that.
So when he dropped this album, this EP, Kill at Will, I remember these posters was up. I just wanted to tear them all down and just put them on my wall. Man, then when I heard the album, well, the EP, I keep saying album. It seemed like an album.
I mean, it's an EP, but it's like, man.
Started off with because he had a couple of remixes.
Endangered Species, the remix. You know, it's got them scared of the fact from, you know, got them fearing the Bozak. Run, you know, whatever. But yeah, no, that song is a banger. It's political, it's smart, it's just is well produced.
I like the original and I like this remix. Remix was done by Sir Jinx. In fact, this whole thing I think was done by Sir Jinx. Shout out to Sir Jinx. We need to get you up on here, Sir Jinx.
For real, Sir Jinx. He's that dude. I mean, he's the person. He went there. He learned, but you know, he just he
learned and he stole.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, Jinx, you know what? And then Jacket for Beats, which is number 2. That was actually.
Woo.
It said, "Chili chill, yo, homie, make the track move." So he just how'd they start that off with D-Nice, right? My name is D-Nice. Then they go into EPMD. What EPMD is that? So what you saying?
Hey, but no, you got to get to the part where he goes, and even if you're down with my crew, hey, yo, man, yo, Chuck, I don't believe Jack them too. He told on himself in this song, man. He told on himself because he's been accused of stealing a whole bunch of stuff. This song is basically putting it out there that, you know, that he was.
But also with S-Clan, so you think you protected where you are until you put a funky beat on your record.
Yeah, exactly.
X-Clan. And he took EPMD. Who else he took? It was
and Digital Underground, Humpty Dance. Yeah, you know.
And then the 100 Miles of Running. Stop. Surprise. Even though that's who was that? The Last Poets, right? Okay. Then Get Off My Dick Again. Get Off My Dick and Tell Your Bitch to Come Here, the remix. Then he had a song called The Product. And that's Take Over Again. Flip it on over to the other side. The Product, which was a good song.
This song, Brick Walls, would always talk about that. He said, this is a song that demonstrated to me that he was a supreme lyricist. And I mean, this song never hit me the way it hit him, but I just maybe never really got into it, deep dove into it. But he just talks about how he just painted this whole thing and just he painted such a vivid picture, you know what I'm saying? So, you know, I can't even speak about The Product without, you know, giving him a shout out, because I mean, we've had many discussions over the years about this.
Shout out to Brick Walls, rest in peace. Yes, sir. So The Product, Great song. Go listen to it. Dead Homies.
Yeah,
Man,
I loved it.
yeah.
I loved it.
This was a moving song. This was like Tupac before Tupac.
That's a good point.
And it was real too. We was having dead homies around that, that
Exactly.
Yeah, that was real, man.
You were experiencing it around this time, so it related.
And still experiencing it. That's the crazy.
Still experiencing, yeah. It don't stop. Yeah, we're losing more and more by the day. That's how it is.
Yeah, the crazy thing is I'm still losing some to the streets. Same old story. And then you got JD's Gafflin. McDonald's was my spot.
Yeah.
Check the motherfuckers for them Nissan trucks.
Yeah.
Right in the drive-through. Yes, sir.
So that's where the was it South Central? Oh no, what was the song? What was the movie called? Don't I always mix it up with the satire. That's Don't Be a Menace. But what was the East Side movie? There's Boys in the Hood, and then there was a
Menace to Society.
Menace to Society. I always mess it up. But Menace to Society. Yeah, that's what the whole Jack and homeboy in the drive-through and and order me some food too.
I said double burger with cheese.
And then I gotta say what's up. He's just giving shout outs to everybody. This was the days when people used to actually give shout outs to other artists and stuff like that, especially on the inlays on the albums and stuff. Man, miss those days. Now everybody dissing each other.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's a profound point there, man.
Forgot about that. I think Kanye might have been the last person to do that. Make a shout out.
Man, shout out.
No. There's a version of Kanye that we can give a shout out to, though.
The old Kanye, yeah.
Hey, you know what? Kanye is deserving of a spin that back, as crazy as he is. I mean, those first few albums, man, I'm telling you, man.
Only problem is he outside the scope. He in the 2000s.
Oh, that's what it is. Yeah, that's what it is. My bad. Yeah,
only thing. Shout out to Kanye, though. Then we got the next album, which was a classic too. Now, these first three releases, America's Most, Kill at Will, and this one right here, Death Certificate. Death Certificate. Primal Cube right here.
Hold on, which one do y'all think? Do you think he was at his height at Kill at Will, or when this album came out?
I felt like Death Certificate. Death Certificate.
He was just riding at this point.
Because I felt like the reason why I felt like Death Certificate is in my top 5 albums of all time. That's how I view Death Certificate, and I felt like he mastered the just rah rap thing, and then he somehow figured out a conscious avenue for it as well. To me, this was the two tales are coming together where it was all together. Where he was doing the consciousness and he was doing the ignorance, but he was doing it to both of them doing it to a masterful level. I mean, this was the album for me. You know what I'm saying? So and I just think that there was things that he worked out skill wise that he even did technically even better after this. But we'll talk about that still.
That's a great point. And the other point I want to mention too is that before this album came out, you got to remember Boys in the Hood dropped. And then he had that classic song "How to Survive in South Central." You know what I mean? That set the stage. You know what I mean? For this album too.
Yeah. Great mention, Student X. Not only is it a dope song, it's very truthful. Like, listen to this stuff. All the stuff in that How to Survive in South Central, that stuff applies to this day. Probably in hoods all over the place. You know what I'm saying? Just man.
You got to, yeah, you 100% right on that.
Yeah, you're 100% right. Salute, Student X.
Salute. So this starts off with the funeral. And you got a man preaching up there. I thought it was Khalid Muhammad after the years. But I know Khalid Muhammad is all over this album too.
Shout out, rest in peace to the legendary profound speaker, Khalid Muhammad. I mean, that brother, they were doing some things back in the day. Back when we had Doctor, yes, sorry. Back in the day when you had a Donahue and stuff like that, those things where you could get Farrakhan, the minister, on these shows and stuff like that, and just they didn't help. They get on these primetime shows and they wasn't holding back.
Come on, 2 Jews. It's too many of us worried about 2 Jews.
Wasn't he the one that said? And for some of us, we even lost our minds.
Lost our mind. Yep, exactly.
Here it is. I first heard that. So I found out who he was. Shout out to Khalid Muhammad. All right.
Wow. Rest in peace.
Yeah, that's a great point because this was around the time when Cube started transitioning to identifying as a Muslim, although not a registered member of the Nation of Islam. That's a point that shouldn't be lost. You know what I mean? So I think he already knew that he was, going to diversify and go into Hollywood and whatnot and everything. So, he didn't want too much baggage. You know what I mean?
Not to cut you off, bro, but look at Q. What's the difference here? The Jerry.
Oh, yeah, now he's pro-American. Yeah. Now he's Republican.
Cam cut it off.
Cam, shout out to Cam.
Oh,
for
okay.
That Jerry girl. Oh, yes, sir. So let's get into the album, though. So it starts off with he was the wrong nigga to fuck with.
Man,
love this damn song.
But that was my motto.
If you listen to the snare, it goes from one side of the speaker to the other side every time. Right. Yeah, the pen. Yeah. And then here's a song that Mr. Nice Guy didn't know.
Give me so much crap. Give me so much crap over that song. Yeah, because this was not my cup of tea. This is not my. I skipped over this. It doesn't have the vibe dynamics that I would play it. So I would skip over this and go on to the next stuff. But obviously, I respect it. It's a great song because it had so much impact on other people, and it literally told the story of what was going to happen over the South and all this other stuff anyway. So he was
right. I mean, there's only one song more popular than this song on the whole album. You know what I mean? Only one. This was the most popular song outside of the one song on this album that we haven't got to yet, so I'm not going to bring it up.
I believe, which is Steady Mobbing, right?
No. My summer vacation was even bigger than Steady Mobbing in terms of plays and what was.
Talking about No Vaseline is probably.
Yes, that's what blew up.
My bad.
That's what blew up.
My bad. In fact, let me spin that back. You're right about that. I don't even really consider that song because that song just stands alone by itself. It could have just been a one song release, and that could have just been it. That song just stands alone. It's just like the crown jewel of disc records to me.
Right.
Yo, but that's
why people listen to this album, is it go to that song, you know what I mean? Because you can add up all the views of all the songs, prior, which was like 19, you know what I mean? And No Vaseline had the most, listens, you know what I mean, to this day.
In fact, it wasn't dethroned until this whole Kendrick Lamar situation. Not like it's the number one diss song of all time.
Right.
But I still can give it the best part is this song. Anyway. But Steady Mobbing was a great song, though. It had a video too. But this song is
coming up short of the Green Guys. And I might start slanging bean pies.
What killed me about this song is the beat. The beat is just so dope. Then I found out that's a goddamn AWB record, AWB and Benny King. Wow. Okay. I'm like, what? It's like, and I think DJ Pooh did this song. How did the hell did you come up with that? That was just so hard. I probably would have heard the record and went on past that little part right there.
But and look, the video was cold-blooded, bro. The video was, I don't know if y'all was in the videos and whatnot, but the video was cold-blooded, a mobbing 6'4", a Muslim on the street picking up the bean pie and whatnot, you know what I mean? It was a cool video.
Hey, I can't come out the bathroom after a strong session feeling about 2 pounds lighter.
Yeah. That's American cliche, adopted from this song. So.
Hey, not only that, oh no, I think that was the other song. I'll come back to that. I was about to say the triple double. That was the other song because that became a class. That thing was quoted so much, but still. Now go ahead.
Remember this one line? But Ice Cube had more amps. Get in.
Hey, that's inspired me to have 412 subwoofers in my trunk. You know what I mean? Straight up.
I'm telling you, back in the day, you had people blasting. It's like, people got sound systems and stuff like that, but it's not like how it used to be. I think the police don't allow it to be like that. But I mean, man, I don't know how people hearing survived. They probably didn't, but
And up here too, like we got banned from like really hitting switches. You know what I mean? You know, as soon as you hit that 3 wall on that ass, you know what I mean? You know what I'm saying?
So yeah, so it's
All right,
different.
let's keep on moving. Then you had the little skit, Robin Lynch.
Mm-hmm.
You get around transfer straight down Gage. You don't want to go down Gage, trust me. Giving up the nappy dugout.
Giving up
Great
the
song.
nappy.
Great song. Look Who's Burning. Great song.
That was funny.
A Bird in the Hand.
Mm.
That was deep. Yeah.
Real deep.
Yeah.
Great song. Man's Best Friend. Great song.
Mm-hmm.
Don't get a dog fool. He is shit in the den. Nowadays, a gat is a man's best friend. Alive on Arrival. Turn over the tape, y'all. And that's just a skit. And then you got Death, Birth.
Mm-hmm.
Then you got I Want to Kill Sam.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now we get to where I was really vibing on this side because this was the consciousness. This was still Cube hitting hard and stuff like this, but this was a Cube with a little bit of intelligence to it.
Yeah.
Yes. Then you got Horny Little Devil.
This is Dr. Umar would have loved. This is like back in the day, he would have loved this one.
Black Korea.
And it was the truth. There was a liquor store on every corner. You know what I'm saying? There was definitely a kind of a weird relationship with the black people in the neighborhood versus the people that ran these liquor stores with just pure poison all throughout.
Or Latasha Harlins got killed by the Korean lady.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Everybody thinks
That's
when people talk about the riots or the rebellion, whatever you want to call it, a lot of people talk about the Rodney King thing, but you got to understand the first things that were attacked were liquor stores. And this was basically a fallout because of Latasha Harlins thing. Rodney King was just the straw that broke the camel's back. So once it was broken, those were the things that were like really attacked institutionally. I understand that people were put out of a car, but the liquor stores went up fire first. So, and that was all about the Latasha Harlins things. Rest in peace.
Next song was True to the Game.
That got to be at least one of the top 3 of the album, I think, to me. He dropped the video for that one too, right?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
Who was who playing MC Hammer, getting thrown in the truck.
That's true.
Be careful.
And then the guy that was that had a white wife. You remember he kidnapped them, right? Wasn't that true to the game?
I think so.
Yeah, he was going through. He was basically kidnapped the dude. He kidnapped the Hammer dude that sold out. The one that
it was Drop Squad people.
Drop Squad and people. Yep.
Hammer had a step to him about that too.
Yeah, he said, he learned his lesson.
Yeah,
it turns out that Hammer was like a real gangster.
Right.
Connections were.
Right. Hey, you look at Smooth Takes fool you, bro. This Oakland up here, you know what I mean? Mark County, you know what I'm saying? It's serious.
As soon as I came to Oakland, I heard all about Hammer. They was like, "Oh, forget with you." No, that's not Hammer. East Side Oakland, man.
You can't touch
it. And you know what? Shout out, let me send my apologies to Hammer because I remember me and Brick Walls was talking about when Hammer signed to Death Row and then he was all dressed in all gangster stuff. And we was like, he just putting on a different costume. He went from sequence to a completely different costume. Mm-hmm. Turns out that he was one of them dudes. But hey, shout out to him being positive, notwithstanding. So back to this album, this track listing.
Colorblind.
Which I physically am, but still, yes.
Colorblind was a good song because it was conscious and everything. It was telling these gangsters that you don't have to be about the red and the blue. It ain't even about that. So I respect that.
Deadly Threat, Cam, The Mad Circle, and King T and JD.
Great song. And then Doing Dumb Shit. I love this damn song.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Great sample choice. I think Pooh put this together too. Great song. It's just talking about him growing up and everything, just doing dumb shit. Then Us.
Back in the day, this was my favorite song on the album. I love the track of it. I love the energy of it, but just the way he set it up, He's like, let me talk to you like you drug dealers, because y'all do something just the same because you're killers. Like just the passion, just the voice, the cadence, again, Ice Cube was a master of rapping in space. If you don't really have a good rapping technical skill, load up with a bunch of syllables. The syllables will carry you through. But if you tone down those syllables, you better figure out how to place them within the beat. That's a way much more difficult thing to do. So, that's a little side pick there. But yeah.
And then the crown jewel.
No
Vaseline.
Using that
I told
Daz.
niggas I'm making all the dough.
You calling me Arnold, but you Benedict.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's bars all over this.
Man, this dude he took out. They couldn't even respond no more. In fact, they broke up after this.
Right. Exactly.
So yeah, he called it. He called it.
He just came out from the gate in the song just stomping though. You know what I mean? That's what was it was so appealing. You know what I mean? And to me, I still got this as the number one disc. You know what I mean? Just straight up. The number one disc, because this was like creative, in a sense to where, back then, it was this real weird situation because, there was no homosexuality allowed in the Black community. You know what I mean? It was like taboo and whatnot and everything, but yet, like the most worst diss that you could give to a person was making like a homosexual reference to them. We call them a bitch, you know what I mean? And then there's no Vaseline. You know what I mean? We know what we're talking about. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, to this day, I have this still as the number one diss track. To this day.
I do too.
I will say that it was kind of interesting that he used that. I mean, it was a sample from Cool J, right? Cool J when he dissed, I think Ice-T or Kool Moe Dee on To the Break of Dawn. Now you're getting done without Vaseline. And it's kind of...
I think that's an illegal search, I think.
No, that's Break of Dawn, where he says the
Break of Dawn. That's the disc. Yeah, he did Cool.
That's where he did. Yeah, he did. Yeah, all three of them: Ice-T, MC Hammer, and Kool Moe Dee. Yeah, one of the greatest diss songs. That's one of my favorite diss songs.
Just to pick on what Student X said, it was also a play. You remember when NWA dissed Cube when they said they were going to find him and stick a broom up his ass, and fuck him with a broom.
Yeah, real talk.
Rape. Yeah. That's what folks would use to put you down.
Let me just say that that Cube is great because we've only gotten through. We're basically at the end of the show, and we only basically got through what's death certificate. I mean, there's still some fire and stuff when you talk about like the Predator. When will they shoot? Hey man, I'm just telling you, man. He killed it on there. He killed it.
That's interesting though. On this, he didn't respond. He never responded until like the second album, third EP, or however you count it. But all that time before he responded back to
Well, how they say Stevie Wonder's albums in the early 70s, like the Music in My Mind, Intervisions.
Sounds in the key of life.
No, Sounds is another one though. Intervisions, Music in My Mind. And it's another one. They said these are like his greatest albums.
Mm-hmm.
This is how I feel about Ice Cube with these albums right here.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why Ice Cube really, because again, Ice Cube, when he broke away from NWA, but he wasn't really dissing them. It was all financial, it was business. But they did that. He did a message to the Benedict Arnold, he did a message to the Oreo cookie. And he was making a positive, like talking about black men, this is what they think about you. They dissed him, did a message to Benedict Arnold. That's when he was like, God damn, I'm glad y'all set it off. He was like, now you just gave me the free pass. I wasn't even talking about y'all, but now it's on. So that's
But they did say into something too. What are you doing? I'm just talking to that bitch O'Shea. They was dissing them all the whole time though, too. Yeah.
But it was that was the song that was the thing that really went after him, because that's when they was like, okay, all right, been trying to ignore y'all.
Bro, I went back and just read the lyrics from the song just to refresh my mind of every bar. My God, bro, I stand by what I said, bro. You know, like that song right now, it was so hard. It wouldn't even be, it get canceled, bro, before it even hit the radio, bro. You know, today, you know what I mean? He came harder than hard, bro.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely would rather play it than I'd rather play it than Not Like Us.
You think he harder to hit him up?
Like Us.
Think he came harder to hit him up?
Hit him up was cool, but I know that's a thing, man.
I don't really like Hit 'Em Up. To me, I'm amazed that's even in the sphere of talk about. I get offended when people bring up Hit 'Em Up in the sphere of The Bridge Is Over and all this other stuff. I mean, you know what I'm saying? It's just like, to me,
96 though, in summer 96.
I'm gonna say this.
I mean, he's talking about sleeping.
I think Ether is better than Hit 'Em Up.
Yeah, I'm just saying that to me, Hit 'Em Up is down the list. You know, to me, it's obviously it's a big diss. You're like, oh, I slept with your wife. But again, to me, I always say, like, how are you gonna brag about sleeping with somebody sloppy seconds like you got them? You sleeping with the thing they've been sleeping with. This ain't good strategy in my mind. But I'm just saying that
I slept with your wife though. He said it in a more artistic way.
Yeah.
Right.
I ain't gonna go there. Still.
I mean,
you know
was a diss.
And the reason why the diss is so weak is because he was absolutely out of line. He was completely emotional breakdown of accusing Biggie of stuff that he didn't even do, didn't even have no part of. His whole feud with this guy was completely sort of like manufactured in his mind. You know what I'm saying?
Well, no, it wasn't in his mind. There was other forces at play. That's another subject, you know what I mean?
But I'm saying that he was accusing Biggie didn't have anything to do.
Yeah, he was emotional on it for sure. He definitely was emotional. I mean, it wasn't he was trying.
That's why when Kanye says I'm like Tupac, I get it. You guys were great artists, great whatever, but super emotional guys that just went like sailing off.
What makes the song so great? The emotion behind it. To me,
the song is weak. To me, would you play Hit 'Em Up over Get Money?
I mean, I would just because I like Pac. You know what I mean? You know,
I'm just saying it. To me, I always say that when you make a diss song, your song needs to be better than the song that you're dissing. It's based on the sort of like Get Money.
I'm saying, okay.
And I'm just saying it. Would you play? Student X says he would. That's fine. That's
yeah.
argument.
Hey,
I would never play Hit 'Em Up over Get Money. Sounds like a so far superior song to Hit 'Em Up.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Because if I go back, if I look at that Blood Crip album. You know what I'm saying? We already know the best song on the album, and I wasn't, gravitating towards the Blood a song inside at all. But, that song was the hardest one, and I listen to that to this day more. Pyru Love, you know what I mean? I listen to that still to this day more than any other song in the album. It might be the only song I listen to on the album.
I think more Crips listen to that song.
Yeah. Straight up. Because it was the better disc. It had the better beat, you know what I mean?
Hit 'Em Up didn't age well. But for that time period when it was first released, 96, it was just hot. It was on the street. It was, people felt
I also felt like the Outlaws. I was like, dude, you guys are, this is like Kwame getting mad because Biggie talked about him or whatever. And it's like, dude, you need to stand down. Biggie's on a whole nother level than you, Kwame. I'm just saying that the Outlaws to me, I didn't think they had the tools.
Hey, bottom line, No Vaseline is the greatest diss of all time.
It's the hardest one.
But they go with that right there. And until next time, we'd like to welcome y'all back to the That Back Show. Please subscribe, hit that like button, share everything, and we will return. All right. Peace, y'all. Yeah.